Hello and welcome back to Cello from the Beginning. Today we're going to start a new technique sequence. This is a right hand technique sequence on slurs. So what is a slur? A slur is simply connecting more than one note under a single bow smoothly. So up to now we have always played one note per bow, whether it was fast or slow. If we were playing, then each change of note in the left hand got a change of direction in the right hand. But of course, we can continue the bow without changing direction while we change notes in the left hand. There was a slurs with two notes under each bow. I could do four notes. If I'm playing fast enough, I can do a lot of notes, and so on. So that's all a slur is. A slur is connecting two different notes under a single bow. And the way we notate that is on the sheet music, the note heads are connected with a curved line from the top of one note head to another, which you'll see in our next lesson. So let's talk about the important technique that is involved in doing this. And there's really just one thing that you have to remember, which is not to change the speed of the bow or do anything to it, to pulse it or anything like that while you're changing the left-hand note. Let me explain what I mean. So if I'm slurring two quarter notes together, my left hand is changing on the quarters. Right? Every beat, my left hand is changing. My right hand is effectively playing a half note. In other words, two quarter notes length worth of bow. So I need to continue to do that with my right hand, a smooth, even stroke of the bow while I change these left-hand notes. So let me give you an example. So if I'm doing it properly, my bow again should be simply bowing on the D string for two beats as half notes. Now I begin changing the left hand. You may find this exercise actually easier to do with two fingered notes like 1 and 3. Because that way a finger is always in contact with the string. So what are we trying to avoid in practicing this? Well, a lot of students when they first begin doing slurs will do something like this. Now, there's nothing wrong with that bow stroke in the abstract. It's just not a slur. It's a different kind of bow stroke that we'll learn later. But students have difficulty processing that each note change is not also a bow change. And so, you know, they'll just do down, down, up, up, or they'll be, if not a complete detached down, down, up, up, there'll be a kind of pulse. So technically those notes are slurred. They're connected together. I wasn't making any break between them, but I was pulsing the bow. And I want to avoid doing that here at this beginning of our technique. So that's why we practiced first just a smooth half note bow. Where my speed is constant and my pressure is constant. Those are the two critical things, right? If my speed changes, I'm going to get this. You hear that. Whereas if my speed is constant, I won't get that pulse. Or if I change my pressure, even though my speed was constant, I was still getting a pressure change and creating something of a pulse. So a good exercise for this, just getting used to doing it, is to do a couple of half notes on the open D and then a couple of slurred. And we could do 0 and 1 or 1 and 3, or we could do half notes with a fingered note. So for example, we could do just first finger. Counting in my head 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And to go directly from that into changing the fingers. So then I would go. So once I have the smooth bow stroke established over the half notes, then I practice the note change. That's a slur. That's all there is to it, especially at this beginning stage. So in the next 2 videos, we will have 8 exercises, 4 in each, where we will work through a sequence of slurred notes and finger patterns, always 2 beats. We're just starting with 2 quarter notes slurred, but we'll grow progressively more complex. In the first exercise, we'll be working entirely on the D string, and then in the second video we'll complicate matters by adding a string crossing to our slur, which we'll go over at that time. So practice this basic motion of just drawing out the long half note full bows and then going directly from that into some finger changes on the quarters while the bow continues to move on the half. And you can make up your own patterns right now. You don't need to be reading anything. I just want you to feel this. You can also try it on the A string, even though our exercise won't be on the A string. So we could come over here. Maybe we could start with 4th finger and go down. And then do 4-3. I would say begin with the half notes, a couple of those, then transition to the slurred quarters, and then end with the half notes. I think that would be a really good exercise sequence for training the right arm specifically to not respond to what's happening in the left hand. So this is a case where we need some independence of the left and right hand. Sometimes we need interrelationship. For example, at the bow changes, right? If we're going, then my left and right hand have to work in tandem exactly so that my up bows and down bows match my finger changes. But for the slurs, we have to have independence, where the left hand is moving on the quarter, or whatever rhythm it's moving on, and it's not affecting or interrupting the pressure or the speed that I'm using on the right hand. So start out with these exercises, and when you're comfortable with that, go on to the next video. We'll see you there.